closely at the world around you. The logos, the architecture, the flags, the currency, even the layout of your cities. You're not just surrounded by symbols, you're coded by them. But here's what they never told you. Symbols aren't passive decorations. They are living frequencies. They program behavior, trigger memories, anchor belief systems, and most of all, they bypass your critical mind. That's why they're powerful, because they go straight to the root of your perception. Ancient civilizations didn't invent symbols for fun. They used them to encode truths too powerful or too dangerous to write in words. In Egypt, the Ankh wasn't a pretty cross with a loop. It was a map of the life force: antenna, womb, channel. In Sumer, the 8-pointed star wasn't just for aesthetics. It symbolized Inanna, the goddess of gateways, transitions, and dimensional travel. And in sacred geometry, every line, every ratio was more than math. It was a frequency carrier, a visual chant that echoed in the fabric of space-time. Now fast forward to today. Corporations, governments, religions. They've all hijacked the ancient language of symbols, not to liberate you, to bind you. Because if you can be surrounded by sigils without knowing what they mean, you can be controlled without ever realizing it. When you look at a symbol, you think you're just observing it, but what you don't realize is it's observing you back, not with eyes, with energy, with embedded meaning. You don't need to understand a symbol for it to affect you, because symbols don't speak to your conscious mind. They speak to the operating system underneath, the emotional, the instinctive, the ancestral. It's the language your soul remembers, even when your brain forgets. Why do you think almost every corporate logo contains geometry rooted in ancient mysticism? Because it's not branding, it's programming. The Apple logo, a bitten fruit. Subtle nod to the fall from Eden, knowledge with a cost. The chevron, the shell, the arch, the triangle. These aren't marketing choices. They are archetypal keys designed to trigger obedience, familiarity, trust, or submission. Governments know this. Why do you think flags use sacred geometry? Why are military medals built on solar cross designs? Why do religious buildings mimic Merkaba, Vesica Piscis, and Flower of Life patterns? Because every one of those shapes bypasses your rational thinking and drops straight into the gut. And once it's there, it begins shaping perception, framing your idea of truth, setting boundaries on your imagination. Without a single word spoken, you don't see a symbol and decide what it means. You absorb it. It starts working on you, like a subtle app running in the background of your subconscious. Now imagine, you've been surrounded by these codes since birth. Before you could even speak, you were being programmed, not through language, through symbology. And this is the part that's hardest to admit. Some of the symbols you love are the very ones enslaving your perception. Not all symbols are ancient. Some were engineered in recent history, built to look harmless, even inspiring, but designed to trigger obedience. Let's start with one of the most insidious, the all-seeing eye. You've seen it 1,000 times. On money, on movie posters, in religious architecture. It's not just illumination, it's surveillance. A sigil meant to normalize the idea that someone or something is always watching, that your actions must conform, that freedom exists only within the grid. Then there's the pentagram, originally a symbol of elemental balance, earth, air, fire, water, spirit, but flipped, twisted, inverted over centuries, turned into a code for fear, association with evil. Why? Because the quickest way to kill a symbol's power is to corrupt its meaning. Control comes not just from using symbols, but from manipulating how the masses feel about them. The cross is another. Once a symbol of cosmic intersection, divine and earthly, masculine and feminine, heaven and matter, but then it was turned into a tool of guilt, of shame, punishment, sacrifice. And now it keeps billions in a loop of unworthiness, hoping redemption comes from outside themselves. This is how reality is coded, through symbols that bypass language and nest deep inside the unconscious, anchoring beliefs you didn't consciously choose. You think you believe in something, but in reality, you've been marked. So the real question becomes, which of your beliefs are truly yours, and which are ancient codes still running in the background? If that question stings a little, you're waking up. Subscribe and hit the bell if you're ready to learn how to decode what's been silently programming you since birth. This rabbit hole goes far deeper than they want you to know. Let's get personal. Look around your room, on your clothes, your phone, the apps, the products, everywhere, hidden in plain sight, are symbols you didn't choose, but you trust. You might not even notice them anymore, but your subconscious does, every time. That logo you always gravitate to, that emblem that makes you feel safe or loyal or nostalgic, it's not random, it's a trigger, an embedded pattern tied to memory, emotion, repetition. Here's what you must understand. Symbols don't just live in temples or ancient scrolls. They live in your emotional body. They form bridges between meaning and identity. The more often a symbol is repeated in your life, especially during emotionally charged moments, the more powerful it becomes as a belief anchor. So what happens when you wear a cross every day, or see the Nike swoosh everywhere, or light candles under a crescent moon? You begin associating a specific state of being with that image, and over time, that image becomes you. And this isn't good or bad until you forget it's happening, because at that point, your identity is no longer yours. You're running unconscious scripts shaped by symbols you never questioned. And if those scripts were designed to keep you small, to make you obedient, to hide your power, then those innocent-looking symbols become invisible chains. But here's the twist. The moment you become aware of a symbol's influence, you take back control. Because symbols don't work the same on the awakened. Once you begin seeing the code, you stop being a user and become a rewriter. And that's where true sovereignty begins. Because if symbols created your current reality, then the right ones, used consciously, can also reprogram it. Not all symbols enslave, some liberate, but only if you choose them consciously. The same language used to program you can be used to rewrite you. Think of a symbol like fire. It can burn a house down or light the way through darkness. The ancients knew this. They didn't fear symbols. They worked with them. Each temple was designed using sacred geometry, not for beauty, but to shift consciousness. Step into a properly aligned chamber and your energy field changes. You feel it, even if you don't understand it. That's not placebo, that's resonance. Certain shapes, like the Vesica Piscis, flower of life, or Sri Yantra, don't just symbolize ideas. They generate frequency fields. They open portals inside your nervous system, reactivating forgotten codes of clarity, intuition, memory, and higher vision. Here's how. When you meditate on a sacred symbol with intention, you're not just focusing, you're tuning your entire being to that pattern's energetic signature. Over time, this creates coherence between mind, body, and soul. You begin to experience life from the inside out. Less reaction, more presence, less fear, more alignment. And when your field changes, your reality follows. That's why many initiates across history wore specific symbols on their body. Not for fashion, for frequency alignment. Think of it like wearing a spiritual GPS, a shape that helps you hold your timeline, especially when chaos hits. But here's the thing. no symbol will save you. If you use them passively, hoping they'll do the work, you fall back into the same trap. The symbol becomes your master again. But if you engage them intentionally, if you meditate, breathe, create, and move with them, you become the magician, because in truth, the symbol is just the key. The real power is the door it opens inside you. Imagine this. Instead of being shaped by symbols, you become the shaper. You stop wearing what's marketed to you. You stop decorating your space with inherited meanings. You stop letting foreign symbols dictate how you feel, believe, and move. And instead, you begin crafting your own symbolic language. This isn't just spiritual play. This is reality architecture. Because once you realize that every color, line, shape, and sound imprints something onto your energetic field, you begin to create with intention. You draw a circle. You're invoking wholeness, unity, eternity. You add a triangle. You call in balance, manifestation, divine flow. You place them inside each other, and you've built a visual spell. This is what sigil magic is, not superstition. Design powered by meaning, focus, and repetition. You can craft your own sigils, symbols that carry your specific intentions, mantras, soul codes. And the more you charge them through meditation, breathwork, or ritual, the more they activate your field. But it's not just what you draw, it's where you put it. Your phone wallpaper, your altar, your notebook, even your jewelry. Each placement becomes a reminder, a frequency anchor, a way to steer your unconscious toward the timeline you're calling in. Because remember, the unconscious is always scanning, and when it sees a symbol you've charged with truth, clarity, purpose, it starts moving your thoughts, habits, and perceptions toward alignment. This is how symbols stop being weapons and start becoming tools. You're no longer reacting to codes written by others. You're writing your own. You're no longer guessing how reality works. You're co-creating it, line by line, layer by layer. Because when the language of the soul becomes conscious, you're not just decoding the matrix, you're redesigning it. Every system of control, religion, politics, media, knows this one truth. If you control the symbols, you control the story. And if you control the story, you control the people. But when enough individuals wake up, when they stop unconsciously repeating inherited symbols and start creating new ones from an awakened state, the grid begins to crack. Because symbols don't just reflect reality, they amplify it. Imagine millions of people replacing shame-based crosses with symbols of wholeness, swapping flags soaked in war for geometry rooted in harmony. Imagine sacred architecture returning, spaces built not for dominance, but for resonance. Places where the shape of the room heals you, aligns you, remembers you. This isn't utopia, it's physics. Because every symbol is a frequency holder, and when you raise the symbols, you raise the field. This is why revolution won't come through protests alone. It will come through perception redesign. It will come when more people remember that the triangle doesn't have to mean hierarchy, that the eye doesn't have to surveil, it can awaken, that the spiral isn't chaos, it's evolution. We reclaim power not by tearing down every corrupted symbol, but by returning to their original codes of light. Because before they were hijacked, these were tools of ascension, maps of consciousness, blueprints of awakening. The elite never feared symbols. They feared you knowing what they mean. They feared the day you'd look at the world around you and see the true architecture of control not as divine, but as designed. And once that veil drops, there's no going back. You stop being a subject of symbolism and become the author of your own myth. And when enough people do that, the symbols running the collective mind will collapse, not through war, through clarity. This world was never neutral. You arrived into a reality already coded, by architects long gone, by meanings forgotten, by symbols you didn't choose. You grew up tracing lines that shaped your beliefs, your fears, your language, your gods. But now, you're remembering something older than programming, something primal, something you. You're remembering that before language, there was symbol. Before stories, there were shapes. Before obedience, there was choice. And maybe, just maybe, that strange attraction you've always had to certain patterns, those dreams that repeat symbols you can't name, those goosebumps you feel when you see a specific image. That's not random. That's your soul recognizing a language it still speaks. So what do you do now? You pause. You observe. You question every symbol in your life. Who put this here? What does it mean to me? Does it resonate or dominate? And then you begin to choose. You draw your own glyphs. You surround yourself with frequencies that remember who you are. You charge your space with meanings you author. You become the spellcaster, not the spellbound. Because here's the truth they hoped you'd never discover. The universe listens to symbols. And when you place them with intention, you don't just change your room or your mind or your mood. You shift timelines. You realign reality. You whisper to the field, "I remember." And the field responds. So let me ask you, what symbol lives in you that no one has ever seen but is begging to be drawn? Describe it in the comments, not just to share, but to awaken it. Because somewhere inside you, a new language is waiting to be born, not to control others, but to set yourself free. And when enough of us start speaking it, the old world won't survive the clarity.